Okay, Rob, I think this is your second time to come out and watch the team. It sounds like you were focusing on the offensive line, tight end play, and a little bit of the defensive line as well. Why don't you start with the offensive line first, maybe some sleepers that people don't know about. I think Alvin Bailey was one guy you're watching.
Absolutely. I was really impressed by Alvin Bailey. He was a guy that played strong side and weak side guard while at Arkansas. Came out after his junior season, which surprised a lot of people, but he had 3 years as the starter there. For the Seahawks, so they were playing him a lot at left tackle. And so I was really impressed by the position versatility that he showed. He's got long arms, he moves his feet really well, showed some flexibility. So he's a guy that, because of the prior experience inside at guard, and as well as how well he played at left tackle, I think he's got a chance to make this club. And that's a surprise considering he's an undrafted free agent. But we've seen the way the Seahawks have been able to find undrafted free agents to make a team.
And then Mike Person's another guy that was on the practice squad, finished the season on the active roster last year. They switched him. He was playing a little bit of left tackle with the second unit. Now he's playing right tackle. What do you like about Person?
Well, you just said, I mean, again, the position versatility to be able to play left and right tackle, I think helps him out, because he is a guy, when you're playing at Montana State, as he did earlier in his collegiate career, you're always going to have questions about level of competition. So, as you mentioned, came in last year in the practice squad, and just got bigger and stronger. And so the fact that they are moving him between left and right tackle says something about his athletic ability and his strength, especially in the right tackle position for a club that likes to run the ball as forcefully as Seattle does.
With Zach Miller on the PUP list with the foot issue, they're spinning a lot of guys through at tight end. Luke Wilson was practicing today, but he has a shoulder issue, so he had the red jersey on. What did you see from that young group, and is there anybody that's kind of jumping out at you?
Luke Wilson is a guy who played really well, I thought, in OTAs. Made some really splashy plays down the middle as a seam threat, and he does have very good speed. I don't see great quickness in and out of his breaks, and unfortunately, he's not a real stout blocker at this point. So he's a guy that I think is going to be able to make some splash plays, hopefully in the preseason as well as the regular season, but I don't think that he is going to emerge as a rookie, as a dynamic backup or potential starter to Zach Miller. Obviously, the Seahawks are hoping that Zach Miller winds up coming back and ends up being the player that he was early in his career for the Seahawks. If there is one player at the tight end position that really has stood out to me, it would be Sean McGrath. He's a guy that is physical at the point of attack. He's not a mauler, and he's a little bit of a plotter when it comes to route running, but he has reliable hands, and he has a little bit of versatility. He can play as the move tight end as well as inline, and so I think that he is probably your best all-around tight end at this spot. But again, he's not a guy that's going to threaten teams down the seam.
A guy that kind of jumped out, maybe people haven't talked about him a whole lot, Byron Maxwell has been making plays this camp. What have you seen from Byron? If he can stay healthy, should be in the mix there at cornerback.
Absolutely. The one thing that the Seahawks really love, or two things the Seahawks really love at the cornerback position, is length and tenacity, just physicality. And Byron Maxwell has always had that. Now, I had some concerns about him when he came out of Clemson. I didn't think that he had great fluidity and coverage, and I still see concerns there, but at the same time, he is tough, he is physical, and he's athletic. He's a guy that can turn and run with receivers a little bit. I just worry about his trail speed. There were times where he was beaten in coverage where he was a little bit off the ball, but at the same time, again, because you have the safety play that Seattle has, especially Earl Thomas and his speed, we've seen with other cornerbacks in the past, whether it be Brandon Browner or in the case where Jeremy Lane and other corners have had some time, if you're just tenacious enough at the point of attack, you can knock receivers off, and Byron Maxwell certainly has the toughness you're looking for.
And then why don't you talk about maybe this year's J.R. Sweezy, a guy that's kind of came out of nowhere, Penta Mayo out of University of Idaho, been getting a lot of run with the first unit.
No, he really has. He's an exciting player. I mean, he's a guy that didn't play a lot while he was at Idaho, but at the same time, he has shown great burst off the snap. And he was running with the ones today, going against Russell Okung, and his ability to create explosive first step off the snap as a pass rusher really had a Russell Okung turning, and so he's not a guy that is going to be able to come in and log significant time as a full-time defensive end, because at 6'3", 255 pounds, he's a little light, and so he's going to struggle against the run. But at the same time, he does have pass rush ability, and so he's a guy that I think has a chance of making this roster as an undrafted free agent.
Okay, any other players that maybe you want to mention that jumped out at you that we didn't talk about?
Well, I've been focusing a lot on the wide receivers and the running backs, and so obviously the Seahawks' first pick this year being Penta Mayo, Texas A&M running back. He's a guy that I talked about it when the Seahawks drafted him. That obviously this is in many ways Marshawn Lynch's team. He is, one of the players that they've built themselves around, just the way the powerful way he runs the ball. Penta Mayo gives him something a little bit different. He is so quick and explosive with turning and his lateral movements, his ability to spin off blocks or spin off the tackles. I think that gives the Seahawks a dynamic element that they didn't have previously. So I'm excited about him. And then the wide receivers, Chris Harper, their fourth round pick. He's a guy that hasn't made a lot of spectacular plays so far, but when you consider the fact that Seattle's wide receiver depth is a bit of a concern now with Percy Harvin's injury and Sidney Rice, then I really think that Harper is a guy at 6'1", 234 pounds. Because he's a big, strong athlete with a little bit of versatility. He's played inside and outside here. I think that he's going to make some plays in the in the preseason games, and he's not necessarily going to be able to make quite as many plays in a training camp situation, because what he does at 6'1", 234 pounds, he's not going to make people miss so much as he's going to run them over. And when you're not allowing tackling in these type of practices, it really doesn't put him in a position to do what he does best. But I'm confident that he'll make some big plays once the preseason games start.
Okay, thanks for the information, Rob. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks.